Welcome back. Today we're going to be going over a video of our DIY kit panel installation. We get a lot of questions about how to install these guys. We wanted to just give you a quick overview of how we do it, and from there you can take it and tweak them and modify them for your design specifically. This chassis is a 2019 plus Sprinter 144, but the installation is going to be very similar for the ProMaster and the other wheelbase Sprinters. So moving into the van here, we'll kind of jump right into it about how these guys are installed. First thing you're going to have to do is some demo work. So we are going to have to remove some stuff to be able to get these panels in nice and cleanly. Most of the demo is going to be up here in the front of the van. So we pulled down first pull off the B columns. So these are the B column plastic covers. You're going to take the screw out for the coat hanger, pop this guy loose. You're going to have to remove the foam blocks, the headliner, the visors, and you might even have to kind of pop some of this A column trim down here to get that headliner fully out. So once you have all that removed, you'll have nice, big, and clear. It's a good opportunity if you want to throw some insulation up there. We recommend getting your insulation going. The wiring harness, you can see we have it pulled down right now. It runs along the side here. You'll have some of your wire chase here that you're going to want to remove from this upper corner. Is going to come down. Now you may opt to reinstall this, but you will have to modify it to work with the wood panels. If you're not planning on using it, you have a couple options with the wiring harness. What we do in-house here is we actually end up rerouting that wiring harness inside the wall through the metal structures, but it does require drilling out some holes through the structural elements. So it's a tricky option to go with. It will get you the cleanest finish, but it is a difficult task to be able to get that wiring harness fed through nice and clean, drilling all those holes out. So what most people will probably opt for is rerunning that harness up here in this upper corner and using some trim to cover that up, or utilizing some cabinetry to help hide that factory harness, but you'll rerun it towards the back and reinstall, get all your clips back in, test all your lights before you get back out there on the road. All right, for the install of the panel themselves, you got all the demo done, we're going to do the install. Again, it's up to you about how you choose to install it and what works with your design. We don't include installation hardware or general instructions. We wanted to kind of put this video together to help answer some kind of high level installation. So what we opt to do is use self-piercing sheet metal screws. And so you can see on these panels, we set them in place, we ticked out where we wanted our screws, and we went ahead and sent a handful of screws in here, and we could add more into this if we needed, if we felt like the panel was flexing in some different areas, but we just kind of got it up here relatively quick with some minimal amount of screws. Same with the ceiling panels, set them up there. You really want to make sure that they stay nice and centered. You don't want to rack them side to side, so really make sure you're landing nice and even on these structural elements that are in your van. So everywhere where you see screws, there's actually a ceiling structural element that we're screwing right into to help hold. Now, this is what we do on all of our builds, is using these self-piercing sheet metal screws, and we've taken panels off and on 4 or 5 times without any issues. Never seen a screw fail on any of these panels, so it is a really great option. It's the simplest installation method that you can do. Now, other people opt for rivet nuts, so you can set your panel up here, you can drill holes, or you can try and shoot for the pre-existing holes that are in the Sprinter van body and install rivet nuts. A little bit more difficult. You got to be really accurate with those rivets to be able to make that happen, but another option if you choose to go that route. The last option we want to mention is you can use some industrial hook and loop, or even some of the the 3M dual lock. So it has a self-adhesive back that you can install on the structural elements and then onto the panels, and then you can press them up and it'll, kind of, it's a Velcro-like, but much more heavy-duty industrial strength that can be very strong. So those are kind of your 3 primary options. And now you might get creative and you want to install additional insulation and furring strips. Totally up to you. You might have to modify some of the panels to make that happen, but that's the DIY side of this project. So I want to talk about a couple of little trim pieces and give you a couple of pro tips here on how to make these things look good and get them installed. So one of the ones we get questions on a lot is this upper door slider trim here. So on the slider door trim, you'll notice on the back side, kind of in this area, there's actually like a little cutout on the back side, and that's allows it to help it curve to this curvature of the slider door. So that's why that little cutout is on the back side of this little trim piece. Now, the way that we prefer to install these, and I think it's one of the easiest ways to do it, there's actually some small wood blocks in here because you have some bolts and nuts that are sticking through on this side of the van that help hold the slider door guide rail on. Those will interfere with you being able to install this trim piece, and there's not much metal there to actually get those screws into. So construction adhesive, take some little scrap foam blocks, 1/4 of an inch thick, and glue them and clamp them right here. Let them set, wait for that glue to cure. Once you pull those clamps off, now you have a little couple of wood blocks there that you can easily install some wood screws into to help hold this little trim piece on. Now, we opted to install this just raw wood, which is an option, though if you upholster these guys, you will get a much cleaner finish. Again, totally up to you as the DIYer, kind of decide what you want to do, but with a little bit of upholstery on here, you'll find that this will really tighten up nicely. It helps to hide some of these seams, and you'll get a really nice professional looking finish for a fraction of the price. All right, another pro tip here, okay, and this one's a little bit more difficult, but we do recommend it. Up here, you can see this panel line is staying nice and flat on the ceiling. To accomplish that, we are actually installing some structural elements. And so kind of picture some metal angle that we install. So we rivet it up into the factory structural elements in the van, and it helps to support this ceiling so that we keep this nice straight line. Otherwise, you're gonna get waves in this ceiling panel because where it hits the structural, it's forced down, and in between the structural elements, it actually wants to bow up because there's some tension in the wood because of the curvature of the van. So if you really want that nice, crisp, clean finish, definitely recommend adding some structural elements in there, maybe even just some wood blocks to help keep that nice and straight. Lots of ways to do it, but something to help support this ceiling panel to make sure that that line stays nice and straight. Wall panels, not so much. They go in really, really nice and easy, but those ceiling, that's a critical touch there. All right, the last one we get a lot of questions about is the rear door window panel here. So if you do opt to install this guy and you don't have windows like these guys do in this van, so we would not install these panels when it comes with windows, but they are supplied with every kit that we send out. If you don't have windows and you have sheet metal, you might have some other plan for here. Maybe you're doing some storage bags, maybe you're just gonna fill it with insulation. But if you wanna clean this finish up here, again, this is kind of another one of those tricky ones where we don't have a lot of sheet metal to screw to, kind of similar to that slider door trim. So we use these little wood blocks that we cut down, and you can see we actually taper them a little bit to match the curvature of the window frame here. We take these guys, we set them in, and we install screws through the side of the wood block into the window frame, kind of this return window here. Screw in through the side, and maybe even throw a little bit of construction adhesive right there just to help. Do this around all the sides here. So without this plastic cover, you'd have access to a little bit more sheet metal. And then once those are in, let that construction glue dry. Then you'll go ahead and set that panel in inside the window. And again, just some wood screws around into those wooden blocks to help hold that on. Upholstering these, you can stain them or paint them. Keep in mind, these are natural wood products, right? This is 1/4 inch Baltic birch. You will get variance in the wood, okay? So if you plan on leaving it raw wood, keep in mind that you're going to get different tones, different grains. It really depends on how it comes from the manufacturer. We don't grain match these or try and match the colors. They get shipped out, and we cut a lot of these guys. So keep that in mind if you're trying to keep it as a raw wood look. Now, if you plan on upholstering or painting, you'll have no problems there. Also keep in mind when you get these panels, you might see some warpage in this. Again, it's a natural wood product. It's unsealed on both sides. So moisture, heat, humidity, all those things are going to affect it. It is 1/4 inch though, so it is very flexible. This stuff can flex back and forth. So if you do receive your panel kit and something's a little curved, don't worry. Once you go to install it and you get it all screwed down or secured the way you like, it should flatten out nice and smooth and hug the contour of that van. Because keep in mind, the vans are curved themselves, so these panels will not stay straight even when you go to install. So hope that helps answer some of those kind of key questions that we kind of keep seeing on these panel kits. Hope you like the video. Please subscribe and check out some of our other YouTube videos. And we got lots more products to come, so stay tuned, and we appreciate you watching.